In 1941, Detroit stood as the beating heart of the American automobile industry, a city where roaring engines and gleaming chrome symbolized the promise of modernity. Families relied on Cadillacs for Sunday drives, and dreams were crafted on assembly lines. But after Pearl Harbor, that vibrant rhythm shifted. Suddenly, those same factories that built our beloved cars transformed into hubs of war production, churning out tanks, bombers, and ammunition. This is the remarkable journey of how Detroit evolved from car maker to the arsenal of democracy, rewriting its legacy as the city that fueled victory in a time of global turmoil. As President Franklin D. Roosevelt declared war on December 8, 1941, the air in Detroit shifted instantaneously. For automotive titans like Ford, General Motors, Chrysler, and Packard, this date marked a seismic shift. The roar of powerful engines and the bustling assembly lines that once symbolized prosperity became the backdrop for a new mission, serving the wartime effort. By early 1942, civilian car production came to an abrupt halt. It's hard to imagine today, but for the first time in history, Americans faced a stark reality. They simply couldn't buy a new car. The excitement of showroom floors filled with glistening vehicles gave way to workshops buzzing with the production of ammunition, aircraft, and tanks. Picture a family's excitement as they strolled into a dealership on a Saturday afternoon, hoping to upgrade their vehicle. Instead, they found barren lots and salespeople explaining that their beloved Chevys and Fords would soon have a different kind of purpose. In that moment, the Motor City transformed from a haven of leisurely drives to a powerhouse of wartime innovation. Detroit's businessmen, once kings of the highway, took on a new identity. They weren't just selling horsepower anymore, they were tasked with building the most formidable machines the world had ever known. It was a time when the city's heartbeat echoed with determination and resilience. They embraced the challenge ahead, repurposing their factories with an unwavering commitment to support the troops on the front lines. As the nation shifted gears from peacetime production to war, the heart of Detroit beat louder than ever. Those iconic factories, once resounding with the promise of the American dream, were suddenly thrust into a new reality. Imagine the transformation as the Ford River Rouge plant, famous for assembling Model Ts, underwent a complete redesign. It was now tasked with producing engines for bombers, a pivot that would dictate the course of the war effort. Workers arrived each day to find their familiar stations replaced with tools and machinery of a different kind. They weren't just crafting cars anymore, they were training overnight to switch from steering wheels to machine guns. Picture a mechanic's hands, once deft at adjusting brakes, now learning to assemble artillery components. The urgency was palpable, lives depended on it. At the Chrysler Dodge plant, assembly lines were reconfigured to churn out tanks, each vehicle a promise of protection for soldiers far away. A steadfast workforce, now numbering over 300,000, became the backbone of America's war industry. Despite the chaos of change, no assembly line stopped moving. With each whistle signaling the start of a shift, these men and women embraced their new roles, fueled by a profound sense of duty. They stood shoulder to shoulder, crafting not just machinery, but a legacy of resilience that would echo through history. The Willow Run miracle stands as a testament to human ingenuity and determination in the face of skepticism. When the Ford Motor Company decided to build a massive assembly plant west of Detroit, critics reacted with disbelief. A factory for bombers, they scoffed. What kind of madness is this? Yet against all odds, Ford engineers turned what many considered folly into one of the most remarkable success stories of World War II. Picture this, a sprawling factory stretching over 3.5 million square feet, the largest under one roof in the world at that time. It was designed specifically to produce the B-24 Liberator, a 4-engine bomber that was the size of a small apartment building. Just imagine the roar of engines and the clattering of machinery as 42,000 workers, many of whom were women stepping into new roles during the war, transformed raw materials into powerful aircraft. These women, who had previously been overlooked in the workforce, quickly learned the skills of aviation manufacturing, converting their nimble hands from sewing hems to riveting wings, a metaphorical stitching together of strength and resilience. Their determination shone through as they worked side by side, many putting in long hours to meet the insatiable demands of the war effort. At full throttle, the Willow Run plant produced one B-24 every 63 minutes. Think about that for a moment. While enemy forces were relentlessly trying to bring them down, Ford's assembly line was churning out bombers faster than they could be destroyed. Each aircraft represented not only machinery, but also hope, courage, and a commitment to winning the war. The Willow Run factory was more than just a place of work. It became a symbol of what a united effort could achieve. Each rivet and wing put together were reminders that everyone could contribute to a larger cause. It was a truly historic moment in time, a miracle born from the grit of the American spirit, proving that madness could indeed lead to extraordinary triumphs. Chrysler's contribution to the war effort can't be understated, especially when we look at the Detroit Arsenal tank plant. While Ford was busy assembling massive bombers, Chrysler took on a different battleground, the challenge of building armor. Nestled in Warren, Michigan, this plant was revolutionary. It was the first facility ever designed specifically for the mass production of tanks. Imagine a place buzzing with the energy of innovation, where engineers and workers committed their days and nights to a single goal, crafting machines of war that could change the course of history. By 1945, the plant had churned out a staggering 22,000 tanks, including the legendary M4 Sherman. This wasn't just a number. Each tank represented countless hours of dedication and a relentless pursuit of precision. Picture the assembly lines. Instead of just the standard parts that went into cars, these lines were running steel beasts, engineered with an attention to detail that rivaled any luxury automobile. Workers at the plant used every trick they learned from car manufacturing to ensure that these tanks were not just functional, but reliable and powerful. Even their fiercest foes, the Germans, marveled at the speed and efficiency with which America was producing these armored machines. As troops battled across Europe and North Africa, the Shermans became a symbol of American resolve and tenacity. It's incredible to think that while other countries struggled to keep up, the US was cranking out tanks at a pace that left the enemy astonished. The tanks didn't just serve a purpose, they represented hope and strength, bringing a sense of security to soldiers and families at home, knowing that the wheels of industry were turning, forging the tools necessary for victory. The Detroit Arsenal tank plant wasn't just a facility, it was a powerhouse of patriotism, hard work, and innovative spirit. As the war intensified, the need for superior air power became crucial. Enter the iconic Rolls-Royce Merlin engine, an engineering marvel that transformed legends like the Spitfire and Mustang into formidable guardians of the skies. But to meet the insatiable demand from the Allies, the production line shifted across the ocean to Detroit, where the Packard Motor Company stepped up. Imagine the scene. Packard engineers, renowned for their elegant car designs, faced a daunting challenge. They rolled up their sleeves and retooled their facilities, a blend of precision and determination, to manufacture Merlin engines at an unprecedented scale. By war's end, they produced over 55,000 of these powerful engines. This wasn't just about numbers, it was about providing the P-51 Mustang with the necessary range to escort bombers deep into hostile territory, essentially changing the dynamics of the air war. The collaboration between British ingenuity and American manufacturing prowess created a force that soared through the skies and delivered victory, proving that when nations unite in purpose, they can achieve the extraordinary. In the heart of the American automotive revolution, General Motors emerged not merely as a car manufacturer, but as a powerhouse of engineering that reshaped the very fabric of wartime production and technological advancement. One of its standout innovations was the Hydra-Matic transmission. This invention didn't just revolutionize the way vehicles operated, it became a game changer for the entire military landscape. Imagine tanks, those massive steel beasts gliding across the battlefield with unparalleled smoothness and speed. Thanks to hydraulic transmissions, Allied forces could maneuver with newfound agility, turning them into unstoppable forces against their foes. Beyond the tanks, GM's influence extended into diverse areas, producing everything from aircraft engines to firearms. The company created more than 800,000 M1 carbines, lightweight yet powerful rifles that took on a crucial role during World War II. It's staggering to think about how a single company could turn its engineering prowess to meet a call for action at a moment's notice. With 200 subsidiaries, GM didn't just work on assembly lines. They were adapting blueprints into tangible solutions overnight, becoming an imperative thread woven into the fabric of the war effort. Now, picture the front lines. As soldiers relied on perfectly engineered machinery, it's hard not to feel a sense of pride, knowing that behind the scenes were teams of dedicated engineers and workers at GM, tirelessly laboring to enhance speed, reliability, and effectiveness. Their contributions underpin every time we see a classic car zoom by, a reminder of their legacy. This wasn't just about making vehicles, it was about ensuring that every component, every part, played a crucial role in defending freedom, propelled by the innovative spirit of GM. As the shadows of war stretched across the globe, Detroit transformed into a bustling hub of activity, a city where the sound of machinery echoed hope and resilience. With so many men drafted into the military, women answered the call to arms, not on the battlefield, but on the factory floor. Picture young mothers, sisters, and daughters, many stepping into factories for the very first time. They learned how to operate heavy machinery, welding, riveting, and assembling engines that would power the Allied war effort. Among these women, stories emerged that reflected heart and grit. Take Mary, a 19-year-old who just months prior was serving coffee at a diner. Now she was riveting fighter planes, feeling the power of her contributions surge through her as she worked alongside other Rosies. By 1943, nearly one-third of Detroit's industrial workforce was female, proving that their skill and determination could indeed replace traditional notions of labor. This surge of female energy turned the city into a living monument to patriotism, echoing the spirit of Rosie the Riveter, a symbol of strength that inspired countless others across the nation. Detroit was a city that never slept. Under the constant glow of fiery red skies, the heart of America emerged as an industrial titan. As the sun dipped below the horizon, the roar of factories transformed into a symphony of clanging metal and steam. The rhythmic thumping of machinery, accompanied by the hissing of welding torches, became the music of a city dedicated to a singular purpose: the war effort. Imagine standing on a bustling street corner as the air fills with the scent of burning steel. The heat radiates from nearby foundries, where workers, barely distinguishable from shadows in their soot-stained overalls, tirelessly molded parts for the latest vehicles and weaponry. Each day, rail cars loaded with the fruits of their labor departed for the coasts, carrying not just products, but hope and determination. Every bullet fired overseas probably came from our city, soldiers would joke, a badge of pride in the midst of the chaos. In this never-ending cycle of production, Detroit became more than just a place. It transformed into a synchronized war machine. Men and women, inspired by a collective sense of purpose, operated on a 24-hour rhythm, proving that unity and grit could forge a path to victory. The city, alive and electrifying, echoed with the belief that every drop of sweat, every spark from the forge, was a contribution to freedom, an emblem of resilience and strength that would resonate through history. German intelligence had developed an almost obsessive fascination with Detroit, the beating heart of American wartime manufacturing. Reports flooded into Berlin, painting a staggering picture of output that seemed almost too fantastical to believe. Spies on the ground claimed that the factories of Detroit were churning out a bomber every hour, a tank every 25 minutes, and producing an astonishing 1 million shells each day. These numbers were so mind-boggling that Hitler himself shook his head in disbelief, dismissing the idea that car manufacturers could rival the industrial might of a nation in full-scale war. But as Allied forces pushed through Europe, the skepticism felt in Berlin began to fade. The fruits of Detroit's labor were not mere myth. They were the tangible power driving back the Axis forces. It became increasingly clear that what the world saw as an arsenal of democracy was, in fact, a reality forged by the hands of American workers. The factories, which once built cars for the open road, had transformed into vital hubs of military might, contributing immeasurably to the war effort. This wasn't just production, it was a symbol of resilience and ingenuity that resonated deeply across the globe, demonstrating that when called upon, the spirit of a nation could mobilize in unimaginable ways. As the war machines fell silent in 1945, Detroit's factories shifted gears, returning to cars. Veterans, now home, drove Buicks from the very plants that had once armed them. It wasn't just the vehicles, it was a testament to America's unmatched ability to innovate and produce. In the heart of Detroit, where engines roared to life and spirits soared, everyday people became heroes. This city didn't just manufacture vehicles, it crafted hope and resilience. As the arsenal of democracy, Detroit ignited a flame of freedom, proving that unity and hard work could conquer any challenge. From assembly lines to battle lines, Detroit built victory itself, reminding us that our shared strength can shape history.